Alrighty, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Appalachian Podcast. I think we're slowly moving on to episode 200. I think this is 193 or 194. Thank you for tuning in. Back with my trusty sea captain of a co-host, Simon Winch, the British American or American Brit. How do you prefer to identify?
Well, that's a bit of a toughie. I mean,
American.
I'm definitely embrace the American lifestyle and everything about it. I came here for that very reason, but you know, you can't take your roots away. I am still an Englishman.
Well, it's good to see you again. You're looking better and better every time I see you, and that's not much of a compliment on your looks. It's just more a compliment on your health.
There we go.
And I will say a very happy birthday to your wife today for allowing this to happen on her birthday.
Absolutely.
The MI6 is strong.
Oh, his is tomorrow.
Who's that? Our guest? Oh, Simon.
Yeah.
Simon.
Yeah.
Oh,
Y'all have back-to-back birthdays? How about
Yeah.
that?
Yesterday.
Oh, holy hell, we got a slew of birthdays going on in here. What ripe old age are you going to be tomorrow,
It's
Simon?
got a 0 on it.
Ooh, 50, huh? Well, congratulations. You got me by about 8 years.
Billy, I love you.
That was nice of
60.
him. That was
Well,
60.
I only said 50 because your wife looks about 42, so.
There you go.
saving himself.
And we also, obviously, we got Chip Slate from Being Libertarian, our 2A chair over here, whatever we want to call it. Chip, good to see you again. How's life in the lawyering world?
It's wild, as our guest knows. It's never a dull moment, and especially if you've been paying attention to the news, there's been a lot of legal stuff going on out there and about. So crazy times.
Well, I know this past week, me and Chip kind of got a side project going, and hoping once we get the cameras in here and kicked off, we get a little bit of breathing room, is to bring a show, you know, like me and Chip doing Zoom with a lot of these people we have out there that want to do Zoom shows to kind of get that. And as I've said before, if we have, 40, 45 of those shows a year, you take a few weeks off for whatever, and that's 45 different guests, and 5 of them decide they want to come here and get on this show. And that's 5 prominent people. They're going to come to this area. They're going to spend their money. They're going to hang out. They're going to go to our shops. They're going to go to our restaurants. So
Promotes the region. That's what it's all about.
and that's
right?
Being Appalachian. So we kind of mixed in Being Libertarian and the Appalachian Podcast and came up with Being Appalachian. And that's going to kind of be a show we're doing here in the future. And I guess we just got verified on X. So that's a good thing. So go follow that account. I think it's at Being Appalachian. We're trying to get the Facebook account maneuvered over because we already got a account over there that I'm just going to mask. It's already got about 1,000 followers or whatever. And I'm just going to change it up. But I can't get the name changed for whatever reason. I haven't put much time into it. But I'm hoping this spring, and actually we did something this week I thought I'd never see. We come close to surpassing y'all on those wanky videos. Just
Blow up.
I mean, that one got like 30 million views.
That's
Yeah, a video Chip shared. I think it was the one with the little girl saying, "Can I pet that dog?" And it was a bear. I think it got like 30 million views on Facebook. Not even our own.
crazy.
But it's weird though, because I shared a video of a clip from last week on Facebook today, and although they like to promote original content, I share our original stuff, and it doesn't really get that many views. It's weird. So,
You never
but
know.
that's why you get out there and follow us on all platforms. Follow Chip on his platforms, and help us drive this Appalachian message home. And obviously, once again, because I know you probably heard him at some point in time, even if he's talking under his breath, it carries across the room. The man who is the reason why we are the #1 podcast in the German Baptist community.
Off the bat. Good
Amos,
job,
perfect.
Billy. I knew
Amos
that was coming in
Denley.
quick.
That was.
I was here on time again.
I was on time too, just 20 minutes later, and I said I'd be here. But to be fair, 6 Mile Post is closed, and I forgot about that again, so I had to go around. And then, of course,
I knew that was going to be. What did I say?
then of course, this time of the day when I'm stopping by the store to be kind enough to get Amos cigarettes and a beer or a 6-pack, of course, it's that time of day where everybody is in 40 West buying lottery tickets and cashing their disability check, whatever the hell it's doing. It's taking 10 minutes longer than it should.
Well, 6 Mile wasn't closed for me coming from Bowlings.
Well, it wasn't, but it's closed on the far end close to town. I'm not sure
Okay.
why. So
Okay.
Look, you can blame it on me and get on with it.
anyway, and for everybody out there, of course, this show is not really brought to you by anybody. We'd like to shout out a couple of people to really help us out. One is You Are the Power with Spike Cohen. They're starting to, he shared they're doing this Christmas swag, ugly sweater kind of thing. I made a post. I said, look, anybody goes and buys one of those ugly sweaters or the equivalent, send us photos. Whoever rocks it out the best can come on, hang out with us at a show up here. Maybe even the one with Spike. We'll have to vet him, of course, because you know how that goes. He's hoping to come up here in the next couple of weeks. I'm hoping maybe after Christmas or something we can get him and one of his coordinators and some of his
Well, he's got a great team behind him, so
yeah,
they're
and of
all
course
good
we'll
people.
obviously be seeing him up at LibertyCon again this year. So I think Chip's going to be sharing some LibertyCon links here soon where you can get your tickets to come up there and hang out. It'll be like 50% off or something.
50% off, and we're going to give some free T-shirts with them too. I mean, you're going to get money by buying these tickets. They said that we sold the most last year, but it wasn't as much as they wanted, so we're going to try to overdo it this year.
Well, let's kind of do something with that as well. We'll make a post, and if you buy one of the tickets or whatever, enter into a drawing, and you can come hang out for a show or something like that. You know what I mean? And maybe your pick, maybe the Spike or somebody like that.
We'll make it happen.
For anybody else that wants to help out, you can subscribe at patreon.com/GetOnTap and get a hold of our awesome after show that we did last week and the one you got the week before for free because I goofed up and uploaded the wrong one. So,
administratively challenged.
Well, you know,
is the expression
I've got a
consistent.
I
He's
got
consistent. He's
well,
consistent.
the problem is he caught it 4 days later. There's not anybody who actually does do this show listen to this show. None of y'all went back and had the wherewithal to listen. I can. I got an infinite.
Yeah, but you put it on Facebook late, so I mean, I didn't catch it, you know, because I'm ex-retarded.
I like to slow roll it. I like to get it out because I like to see how the numbers go. I like to see how many people are paying attention and listen to it before we post about it, and then see how many people post after. And our numbers are starting to go sky high. So thank you everybody out there.
Where are they, Billy?
73,000 on Facebook now. I think we're at 36.5 on X and 35 so on Instagram or whatever. Right now we're being shadow banned on Instagram and Facebook, despite all the following, not as much as you would expect.
How does he? What Instagram shadow banning? I mean, is that
you'll
something...
share a post and they won't tell you what post it actually was. They'll just say, "Would you like to, dispute it or whatever?" And then you click on it, but it doesn't give you the option why you want to dispute it and tell them to F right on off. So you got to put some BS excuse, and you don't really know until if they reinstate it, then you can go back and see what it is. But if you don't reinstate it, you're just up in the air. So everything's going to everybody that follows me, but I'm not really. At one point in time, there a few 2 or 3 weeks ago, there's 300, 400, 500 people a day. Just so it's the Appalachian theme, the Appalachian message. All this stuff we're all about. It's really starting.
We had a big shout out on which podcast?
Badlands.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, they got a pretty big following. They get about 50, 60,000 views, I guess, on Rumble or whatever for their shows. Had shout outs on Timcast before, a couple on that show. So I mean, we're getting out there. People are understanding, having fun, and we always need your support. For everybody out there, that's patreon.com/GetOnTap. You get the after shows that we probably won't do one tonight, but most of the time you get shows early and you get opportunities to come up here and hang out with guests, hang out at town events we have, and the reason we haven't been out in town and setting up our tents and things as much is because every time I turn around, I got a kid on the way. So it's tough to get away. I know. But
I could offer some sound advice.
But I'm hoping when this one gets to be about a year next spring, then we can,
distance from this one.
we can start getting back out to some cool stuff. So tonight, our guest, and actually our topic for tonight is going to be how to overthrow the government starting at the local level. And returning once
kicking
again,
it off of the bang.
Wow, that was a hell of an intro, Billy. And
Okay.
Holland, over to you.
No kidding.
Well, Holland Perdue, Mayor of Rocky Mount, appreciate you joining us here again. Third time, I guess, this year, if you go back to January.
First time at the cabin.
Yeah, first time at the cabin, fourth or fifth time overall. Good to see you again.
It's good to see you. I'm happy to be here. Big drive. Missed the cabin, but we found you.
Yeah, I mean, it's you'll get there eventually. If you keep doing a right turn, you will find yourself here.
It was dark outside, but we made it.
Oh, yeah.
We're
Well
here
done.
now.
Very well done.
What do you think about the setup up here? I mean, at my house, it was convenient, and but I mean, doesn't this kind of sell a point? I mean, isn't this something that it's different? You know what I mean? It's not what you expect in a stuffy podcast studio.
I've done a podcast at my restaurant. I've done a podcast on your front porch.
Yeah.
And now I've done one in a cabin in Callaway with a space heater beside
And
me.
you did
so
one
I feel good.
in
One
my studio
Anastasia's.
at my house upstairs. That's four.
That's the first one we did. Yes. I mean, it's,
Well, I could burn you out with a log burning stove, but I won't do it.
yeah, don't do that.
Because
Well, listen,
It's perfectly good.
let's give him kudos too. Let's give him two kudos. Number one, I've noticed for the first time after this being time with number 4, he didn't bring any backup. He came up here on his own. No campaign people, no town managers. He just up here under his own free will. Number 2, I think perhaps he might have set the standard before Donald Trump. What won Trump this election? A lot of people are going to tell you it was his podcast tour, going on shows that people are going to listen to. Holland, he saw that 3 years ago, and he came on the show before everybody else did it. And I think you set a trend. I mean, that's a lot of pressure, but
Trump and I were talking about it, and we decided, I showed him the way. It worked out real well.
You could do it local, but he could do it national.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And Robert's probably not happy I'm here by myself. No, I told Robert I was coming. He's out of town, but he said it.
He goes, don't fall for any of their traps. Don't do it. Just be careful. Be careful. Have you got an attorney? Oh, you are one.
I'm pretty sure that Robert's on speakerphone in his lap.
with a little buzz in his ear saying, "All right, don't say this, don't say this."
FBI van.
Since he's not here, and I don't want to talk about the man while he's not here. Let him defend himself, because I don't know if he'll take this as a compliment or not. But he looks eerily like Matt Walsh. Does anybody else pick up on that? Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Matt Walsh. He's the one that did the documentary, What Is a Woman?
Yeah, but I don't think he looks like him.
I think he looks...
if I was looking at the glasses, he might.
I'm not sure about that. Robert's actually warmed up to us as not being the aggressors, to...
Well, that's exactly where we want him to be.
Look, I know where it come from, so he better have thick enough skin to deal with.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation with Holland and him at Billy's that night.
Yeah.
The only attaboy he gets is being smart enough to find Robert.
Yeah. Well, he was here before.
Robert was here before me.
I think he preceded his administration.
And I'll say that Robert was here before I was, and I'll say this: you can't ask for a better town manager. And I'm not saying it because we're recording this. Robert he's gung ho. He's looking for the future. He wants big things for Rocky Mount, and I'll text him sometime 11, 12 o'clock at night. He responds. We work hard together. Everybody on council works hard together, but we're really looking forward for Rocky Mount. Trying to bring people back, and
that's good to hear.
Keep going.
That's really good to hear.
And it's showing. I think
so.
Absolutely. Things are growing.
Yeah. And especially right now where, tourism is really going to be missing in North Carolina for quite some time. And people are going to, they're going to want to come to other places. We need to simultaneously be trying to fight for everybody down there to keep those places alive. And then being able to take any influx of tourism, we're going to be open arms and say, hey, well, come visit this part of Appalachia. We can explain to you why we're special. And these are the reasons. And then, next year, make a trip down to Carolina, and thanks. Cause
we're not that far apart, really.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you, how have you been?
I spent some time down in Maggie Valley. I've got some very close friends there. In fact, my best man has some rental properties there.
For had?
Well, no, he still does, above the golf course in Maggie Valley, and it had a very similar vibe to here. It was possibly a little bit better developed than here, with the golf courses and so forth. But the Smoky Mountain vibe is very similar to what we've got going here, and there's no reason that we can't be doing exactly the same thing that they're doing. And everyone says locally, oh, we need to be looking at, replicating the Floyd experience. No, bullshit. We'll do our own thing and take, what Floyd does successfully, what Smoky Mountains do successfully. And, we're going to be winner, chicken dinner. No, there's no question in my mind that we can make this happen.
I wanted to ask you, Holland, have you paid much attention to lots of what's going on down there in Western North Carolina? And I know you're a busy person, but, just the devastation and have y'all, as a town kind of discussed, well, what happens if something like that happens here?
You always worry about that, but you listen to your local experts. I'm very happy that Ferrum was able to bring in a school. They had their whole team, all their teams are staying at Ferrum, which is a great thing for Ferrum to do and look out for the community down in North Carolina. So, I think, that's outside of the town, but obviously Dr. Martin reached out to us and we put up some signs. But I think it's good that our community is still helping with North Carolina the best we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just, because when you just think something like that could never, ever, ever, ever happen. And then it does. I honestly don't think that you can be prepared for it. You know what I mean? You're never really going to be prepared, but it's still got to be in the back of everybody's mind. I'd mentioned that last week. I drive down the roads now and I'm like, well, could this happen here? What happens if going through Boone's Mill, it destroyed everything in Boone's Mill, it destroyed everything following that creek, all the way down there?
But I think the headwaters that come when you see the big flooding events and the big rain events here, you see them right down at Callaway A&A store. That's where you see that, oh, right, we got an event coming. That water's now rising rapidly, and it puts the bridge at Klein Brewbakers that can get washed, not necessarily washed out, but inaccessible.
Well, if it comes down like this,
if
it's like it was in North Carolina, I don't think many of these bridges in this town are withstanding. I mean, they were taking.
But we see it fairly early, and I don't think we are in such a topographical problem area when a storm gets caught in those hollers. If one was to get caught here, I don't know. I mean, when was the big flood here? It was in 85, right?
But I mean, but this one was, I think there was 1,400 mudslides. So you either getting hit with flooding, mudsliding, hurricane, tornadoes. I mean,
there's under the mudslide deals underlying stuff. There's a whole down that area. There's a lot of mines.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of mining done that we don't do around here. I mean, there's nothing around here.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of disturbed dirt that at some point decided it had to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like the town of Rocky Mount, literally my first thought after all this happened was I started thinking about around here, like the Furnace Creek region.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is probably only in the town.
Mm-hmm.
Now outside the town, oh Lord,
everywhere.
Boone's
Yep.
Mill, Callaway, it would just devastate it.
Well,
In 1985, the fire department got us kids out of the elementary school and put us to the American Legion building because they couldn't even get to the school. And it went up, it came up that fast.
And that's what happens here, particularly in Callaway, is it comes up very quickly because we're the first ones to see it.
And it still takes, I've seen times, big thunderstorms and stuff where the river was raging here and it was 3 hours before the water changed at 220.
Yeah.
On the Blackwater.
So there's a lot of flat ground between, this point and Rocky Mount. And I think that works very favorably for the area. I'm not going to say we are not exposed to it, but yeah, that sort of event when that storm stalls out in a holler. Yeah, it's hardcore. I mean, brace yourself.
Well,
Deforestation.
I kind of want to get into the bigger topic about that too, eventually too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Bigger. Before though, we jump into our first topic, I'm gonna let Simon bring on board. I did want to mention our buddy Matthew Rife and Rife Technology and the Rife machine. How's that working for Drew? Have you got an update?
Well, I don't necessarily have an update on his dog because he's got a 14-year-old dog that he thought that this might help, but he's had some issues and he has seen, whether it's heart palpitations or something, I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's something like that. And he's been using it and he hasn't had an event since. That speaks volumes to me, So there's, again, it's this holistic approach to medicine. I'm all for it. I fully support every angle of it.
And Drew was Nathan's best friend. And after Nathan passed, I mean, he did have some heart palpite issues in the past, but for those anxiety, just the grief. But since that, I mean, I know he'd been having some problems. I wonder how that.
Oh, he was tore up. He was tore up over Nathan, which exacerbated that whole situation. But I had a text from him a couple of days, let's say a week ago, 10 days ago, where he hasn't had an event.
Excellent.
So there we go.
Well, hopefully we'll get Matthew back up here maybe after the new year and back on the show again, or whenever we get the cameras up and rolling. I'm hoping Drew will come up in a couple of weeks, or since it's around Christmas time with those, I'll bring the one from the house. We'll get Matthew up and we'll do a show setting up the video stuff.
Oh, that's going to be hysterical.
It'll be a good time.
Bunch of slack jaw, mouth breathing idiots trying to mess with cameras.
The original phone call Simon and I said, he said, don't even worry about bringing Amos up for that. He doesn't even know anything about the video. But then I was like, but we should do a show up there too. He said, yeah, let's do a show while we're setting it up. I said, well, why the hell would you not want Amos up there for that?
Sorry, Amos.
You want to waste that opportunity.
I see how I get treated.
Right, vicious.
Well, what are we starting off with? What's the first thing we're going to start grilling?
I think we should get, I mean, I know you put out an update with the town. I'd love to hear really a repetition of that so that the people that didn't see the update get a town update and how well I think, that you guys are doing. So by all means, give us a clout on the status, which includes that expansion of town limits, because I know that's a very contentious point.
So we had a good year. I think we had a good year.
Oh yeah, we did.
We had Rocky Mount Fest. This is the second time we've done it. This is the first time it's called Rocky Mount Fest. Great time. 18,000 people plus came to Rocky Mount. That's a big deal. A lot of people seeing the area, which also led to the Southern Living article. It's a big magazine, one of the top 10 towns in the state to visit, which is great. I mean, if you think about that, cool. We're a very small community, less than 5,000 people, and we got a lot going on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so I think that is important to show what's going on in Rocky Mount. More people are coming. Obviously, I think we can do better. But
it's
I think
trending well.
Yeah, no, I think so. And I mean, again, it's always good to have more people coming to your area, seeing what you have to offer, and then coming back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. At Rocky Mount Fest, I was talking to some people, and they said, look, we moved off to Richmond. We came back. We never thought we'd be able to come to a festival in Rocky Mount, where we grew up, have a beer, and walk around. And we are. And so, it's cool to hear people, and these people were in their 50s and 60s, but they were excited about being able to come back, listen to music, and just enjoy it. They lived in a bigger city. Obviously, this is their hometown. So, I mean, stuff like that makes what we're doing worth it.
It makes memories.
Yeah. Well, it's good, but you want people to come back to the area and not be embarrassed by it or not talk negatively about it. You want them to say, look, I want to go back there and I want my friends to come back and see what's going on.
Yeah.
So,
and there was tons of comments after the Rocky Mountain Fest I seen. I mean, just tons and tons of people, first time, unbelievable experience. I mean,
it went very well.
And let's be honest, we were kids. We had 2 stoplights that was on blink after 10 p.m. 18,000 people walking down Main Street. I like it. I enjoyed that day, every bit of it. I was at a lot of it just completely like, oh, is this for real? We're not getting run out of the Roses parking lot anymore. We can walk down Main Street.
Hey, JT Divers ain't out there telling you, I dare you. Speaking of stoplights, I wonder, since you are the mayor and you're control of the town, why is it that every time I'm going through town trying to get somewhere, I hit every single one of them red? I got a baby in the car.
That's how lucky you are,
I'm
Billy.
not trying to stop every time.
We see you coming and they just hit the button.
That's
on my cell phone. They tell me it's going on. I hit the button.
That went through my mind earlier today. I said, I bet these bastards have my plates. And they say every time that camera picks up those plates, smack the bastard. Because he's got an infant in the back, and if you stop the car, she's going to start screaming bloody murder.
It's the safety guys, right?
That's it.
They're controlling the lights.
On your shit.
Well,
when you're in it all the time.
Well, I'm sure either way.
But, Simon, you asked about the expansion. I didn't want to leave that out. So 560 acres coming into town, 270 new parcels coming into town. Probably the biggest part of that is the Diamond, what they call Diamond Extension, which is over the railroad tracks of Diamond. That area does not have an exit. So if you call an ambulance and you're over in Diamond, what we'll call over the tracks,
Rocky Mount's coming to get them, obviously.
Well, if they can't get to you, or they can't get out.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So there's no ability to do that. And that's something that has never been addressed. I believe it will be addressed. And it's important that you don't look at areas and say, look, we're not going to address this issue because it's going to cost money. You have lives over there, elderly lives, that if someone has a stroke or a heart attack, an ambulance gets them, and then they come back and there's a train, you're stuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we all know how quick. I mean, it's time. I mean, look, it's time to fix the small problems we have in the town and in the county. But I mean, that's a big problem. The exits are a big problem if you have one way in and one way out.
Mm-hmm. So Diamond, I didn't realize that was part of the county.
Yeah, well, Diamond Avenue. When you get to railroad tracks, right, that is part of the county.
So behind where the cul-de-sac is and stuff back there, how's the closest way to create an access?
So there's a parcel of land back there that can create an access. The county was in talks to try to resolve that, and somehow, well, anyways, that has resolved itself. That we're taking that in, and we're going to.
But it would come out where?
So there's a parcel of land that would create. It would go all the way around to. If you wouldn't have told me the street, I would tell you.
The church and stuff is there.
No, it'd be back on North Main. That side. It goes all the way around. and Sycamore Street.
Yep.
And so that can be created, but the key is you just don't want someone having a medical event or something and they can't get to you or get out.
Or God forbid, my wife wants to shoot me because she works for Norfolk and Southern, but a train derailment or something that clogs up that for days.
Well, there recently, when I say recently, in the last 5 to 7 years, the train broke down right there and no one could get in or out. And so I mean,
I wasn't aware of that. Wow, that's a
yeah.
nightmare.
And so, I mean, you think about it. If a train's broke down, there's nowhere to get around you. If you have a medical issue,
Isolated.
you're stuck.
Oh,
If
you're
you
done.
have a fire, you're stuck. I mean, those are things that we take for granted in certain areas we don't have to worry about. But these people in this area don't have that luxury. If something happens with that train,
Well,
they're
they don't have the
stuck.
luxury of having a bulldozer out back to make one or access.
You know, that too.
Well, speaking of emergency services, before we get too far into it, y'all wanted to shout out somebody who's been working for the fire department in Rocky Mount for, a
75 years.
couple more years than Simon's been alive.
Spike Pugh, one of the best guys.
If I could reach down the end of this table, Billy, and give you a slap, I would.
10 minutes ago, you were complimenting me when I said fit.
Well, I
Man
know,
is one of
but
the
that's
best
how
men
volatile I am.
you will ever meet. And he's in his 90s for sure. And I don't know about now, but in the last couple years, if there was an accident, he couldn't man a fire hose, but he was out there directing traffic with his fireman suit on in his 90s.
That's amazing.
That's town pride.
Yeah, it is.
Well, why in the hell aren't we getting him on the podcast? If you've been in Rocky Mount for 75 years, you've got stories that go back generations. Why don't somebody reach out to him if you've known him your whole adult life? Let's see if we can get him up here and tell some stories. He'd be the oldest person. I think Paul Radford's got the record right now at like 91. But
He was on the Rocky Mount Fire Department when they bought their first
engine.
gasoline.
I was going to say he was probably horse and cart by the sound
Yeah.
of it. I mean, not
That's back in the
looking
50s,
to
I guess. At
take
this
a
point in time.
cheap shot,
He'd have
but
started in
bloody hell.
1949 if he'd been at 75 years.
But that speaks to the volume of our volunteers. I mean,
Doesn't it?
Spike is 75 years. There's no doubt. I mean, you've seen the Facebook posts and how many people congratulate him. But I mean, all these volunteers we have, we are one of the only localities that our volunteer numbers are going up.
Wow.
Really?
In the town.
That's
They're
awesome.
going up and they're staying steady and they're finding people. So, I mean, I think it speaks to the volume of what the Rocky Mount Fire Department does. And I think it's that camaraderie that they have is something you don't see often in volunteer.
It
fire
speaks
department.
volumes of the top management.
Absolutely.
Have we, this is, whether it was with or Pulaski, I'm not sure, where they have a combination of professional firefighters and volunteers. And that came into being within the last year, I think.
But we have that here with EMTs. We have a couple of, if I'm not mistaken, I know it might have changed here, but, I have some buddies on the fire department in Roanoke said they come over here and work extra shifts running EMT for Rocky Mount. Tough position to get because there's only a handful of them, but I think that's a smart way to incorporate things and it works well.
Well, there's so many guys coming out of the forces with that EMT background that could be utilized, but they don't reach. And I had this conversation at town hall, a firehouse meeting, I think, a number of years ago, where, we had some issues where we couldn't man EMT stations, but we had a plethora of returning folks from combat zones that were
Combat medics.
whether they were combat medics or
trained at least in emergency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But their training didn't cross over to the
Civilian
EMT
world.
standard.
Yeah.
And I thought that was something that really could be exploited because these folks have talents that, they've gained on the battlefield.
We'll talk about privilege when you would have to turn away by some kind of standard, somebody that has wartime life-saving skills. I mean, it's just bureaucratic nonsense in the mix of that. I don't get in the whole rant on that. I did want to give an attaboy too to the Rocky Mount Fire Department because this weekend, this will kind of segue into the next thing I want to talk about. As we were walking up part of the Rocky Mount's big weekend, had the Rocky Mount, Franklin County back home to Christmas on Saturday, and we had the parade on Sunday. So on Sunday for the parade, we were walking up to the top of the hill because obviously we're not far to where it makes the turn down past the hospital. And my wife happened to see over And the mulch at Angie McGee's, Angie, you owe us a steak dinner, and so do you, Flora Funeral Home. She saw something smoldering, and I walked over there. I guess somebody flicked a cigarette, and I went and I was like, "Oh, I got a little bit of water. I'll just pour it out." Well,
By a funeral home doing cremations.
it was windy as all get out, so I go to pour a little bit of water on it, and then I go to stomp it out a bit, and every time I stomp it out, it picks up somewhere else, flaming and stuff. So if my wife hadn't have saw that, then there's a chance that entire mulch pit would have caught fire. It could have reached Angie's building. It would have been an eyesore for Flora. So I'm saying there's a couple of steak dinners that are owed out there for my wife's. Just
Well, if anybody should get it, it's Tara.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously. So but I sat there and I was like, I continued to try and stomp it out with my foot, but it's on a very steep incline. So every time I did that, I would slip and about fall, but it would spread even more of the smoke. So I was like, you know what? Before this gets out of hand, I'm just going to call the fire department. So I called the sheriff's department dispatch. I didn't do 911 because then you get the stadies, I think. So I got the local people and I gave them the address, and 5 minutes later they were there I said, can I go up to the parade now? And so, with the parade and everything going on, them still be vigilant, being there in 5 minutes, I think that's just a testament because, that could have been bad. My house isn't very far from that spot, and who knows what would have caught on. I mean, with as windy as it was that day, bad things could have happened because everybody's attention was on the parade, which now I want to talk about as well. What a big weekend for Rocky Mount. The Back Home to Christmas was phenomenal. We walked around downtown, had a blast. I don't think it was a door event, unfortunately, but that didn't stop some people, I'm sure.
It wasn't a door event, but look, people love that event. We moved it from Friday to Saturday.
I think that was a good
move.
move.
I think
It
helps.
was a good move.
Got more people here. Again, those are good events, but it's all about bringing people to the town of Rocky Mount and making sure people know the things we have. And of course, the Christmas vibe is great here. I mean, it's just pretty. I mean, if you look at, and I don't know if you've been to the trail, the light trail on Manor.
Yep. We walked it the other night.
Great time. And that was done, not lying, that was done by, Public Works. They did that on their own.
Wow.
There was no prompting to it.
That's town pride.
Yeah. Well, look, and the nice thing is people go to Roanoke and they pay to go to Roanoke to the big walkthrough, and that's fine. But this is free. People can go. They can enjoy it. It really is a good time, and it looks good. And that's part of what you want people to do is take pride in your town. And when staff starts doing that, and when you have people on all levels of staff doing that, you feel good about what they feel about their jobs and what they feel about the area they're working for.
And it's something perfect for families to do.
Absolutely.
They enjoy that.
To me, the community's bought in, along with the employees and staff behind it.
Well, come park downtown, go to the light show, swing by Anastasia's, grab you a beer, maybe stop by the Burger Company. And we've got a couple of new restaurants in town. I guess the Crooked Road, I think.
Road and Co.
Right there. They do the brunch and lunch kind of deal. We've got, of course, little Shabbies, obviously, right there that moved into Twins Creeks. Twins Creeks moved down the road.
But if you're going to Anastasia's, get some bourbon.
Top
that's what you're going there
stuff,
for.
Brace yourself.
Yeah. And then we also got I saw this weekend at the Christmas Festival, I looked up and saw that, what's the big caterer downtown that does also?
The Porch is open.
The Porch,
Center
yes.
Stage,
And who is that?
Porch is owned by Center Stage.
Center Stage, yes. Phenomenal. My wife just...
Great looking place. But again, the more restaurants you have in the downtown atmosphere, the more you can go downtown, enjoy different places. That's kind of the vibe that...
Cruise on foot.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, Amos, because I've heard you say this before. What are the signs of a dying town when what moves out?
Restaurants and banks.
Okay. And we saw that here in the past 6 to 7 years. We've saw a couple of banks change over. We've seen restaurants leave town. In the past 2 or 3 years, what have we seen now come back to Rocky Mount?
And I said that when he was running for election and all that was going on. And we had every fast food restaurant in Rocky Mount was shutting down. Banks were closed.
Well, that was a COVID effect as well.
It was.
That was huge.
Part of it. But still no less. We see a new bank coming in across from Food Line, and now we see Zaxby's just taking over Burger King. You're the head coach, you're the mayor. This is all things happening under his administration.
The banking business model has changed dramatically with the digital age. So, now we've got a building that was a bank that's a fantastic building that the town has purchased. And it's going to be very cool to see what that becomes, because it's challenging.
Well, you don't. You catch flack when the government buys property.
Yeah, absolutely.
Done it twice, by the way. Caught flack both times. But what I will say to you is that in a small locality, you don't want the bank, for example, sitting vacant for 10 years in something that's growing.
Yep.
You don't want the largest tract of land that's left in the town of Rocky Mount going into private hands that sits vacant, and you can't develop 64 acres. I get that, you're going to hear people say, well, it's taxpayer dollars. I get that, but you're seeing a return on your taxpayer dollars when you see 18,000 people coming in for an event. They're spending money. The mills tax.
It's an investment.
It's an investment. And so creating that, and by the way, 64 acres creates a lot of housing, which is the biggest problem everywhere, matter what.
That's one of the big subjects that I think we can explore with you here is the housing issues that we have. And so many of them can be resolved I think really by creative development. I'd love to know if there's any traction with the 64 acres.
So I think you will see movement very soon there. Obviously, the concrete plant is moving. That's moving along. Obviously, there's issues behind the scenes that you don't see. There's been weather. There's been other things. But so the concrete plant is almost completely open on their new parcel. And so once that happens, they'll tear down the old plant. But conversations are already going on about what to do there, and you'll see more of that coming. But I mean, we have so many people 60 plus that are living in houses that are huge,
rattling around.
And look, what they want, or what we hear they want, is smaller houses, patio homes, and we don't have that to offer. We don't have that we don't have the ability to give you that. Now, this 64 acres can develop into multiple different styles of housing, which then you may have someone that has 2 people move into a patio home, and then that 4-bedroom house comes available, and a younger couple moves back into there because they want to come here, but there's no inventory to put them here.
Well, and that to me is the way of solving the immediate way of solving that housing problem. And I'm glad you've recognized that. I think because there's a lot of people recognize it. There's a lot of resistance about, the surviving spouse leaving their 4-bedroom home. And that's another matter entirely, but giving them something that is presentable to them, that frees up that family home, would be a great way to move that housing crisis that we have. A crisis is too strong a word, but it's a shortfall in housing development. And that solves that problem, which also leads us into Goodwill is up for sale. Now, I know that comes in at, is it 3.8 million or something? But that's a fantastic piece of property on North Main Street that needs developing, that we can go into with the hotel development at the north end of North Main Street. So all of these things require some big bucks. But if there's a need, someone's going to take it up, because where there's a need, there's money to be made.
And that's where it comes into the town. Just like you said, he catches flack about the town buying property. But at what point is it in the town's best interest to let town developers, town managers have a say? Now, I ain't saying the town needs to continue to own it forever and ever, but they need to, if they have a master plan, let them work with private developers and set something up that, because if it's done right, that 60 acres done right is great. Done wrong, well, there's
still some issues that we're well aware of with that 64 acres, which is the compacted ground and so forth. So those studies need to figure out what you can and can't develop on that piece of property. And I think they're going to be problematic. But one of the biggest issues I think that you're going to have with that 64 acres is the VDOT access, because we all know what it's like when you throw in that amount of homes or a partial commercial and residential in that area. You've got a VDOT access potential issue that I'd like to know your thoughts on how you can overcome that. Because
so we applied for a grant, over $1 million grant, And part of the reason we got that grant is because of the 64 acres. So we have $1 million grant coming to fix that area that Billy thinks we're doing the stoplight stoppage for him through. But that area is going to have, it's going to have an overhaul. We have we have 20,000+ people coming through a day in cars.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of traffic through our area. But look, the key is you get the grants, you help create the roads, you create the developments. The 64 acres, look, I would like to say when it's done, and I may not be here when it's done, I may move away to Callaway and hang out with you in this cabin.
There you go. You'd be most welcome.
Or be in Congress.
I don't know about that. But what I'm saying is that when it develops, and I think it will develop rapidly, I think it will be really good for the town. And the recent deal we did with the county gives us some tax incentives to get that done, which is very important for us to get some tax money back into the town.
How does grant money, when it comes to these sort of projects, you're relying on a lot of state money
or federal money
or federal money. And whichever way you look at it, it's still taxpayers' money, but nonetheless, it isn't impacted directly on the taxpayer in the area, which you have to look at as a massive bonus.
Look, I'll say this, and this might not be well received, but the federal government and the state government has a problem with sending money to Southwest Virginia.
How do we fix that?
Well, I don't know how you fix it. But I'm going to tell you.
I think I do, but I'm not going to say it on air.
Well, look, Southwest Virginia needs to be better represented.
Yes.
And the thing is that taxpayer money and grants need to come to Southwest Virginia. This isn't about Northern Virginia. This isn't about Tidewater. Southwest Virginia is a huge locality.
Yeah.
And it gets kind of forgot about because we're in a cabin with a space heater talking about. But what I'm telling you is that that's the one thing I've never understood why people don't. It's like Southwest Virginia entirely gets taken for granted.
How do we maximize? Because I know you've employed someone looking into and getting grant money, which I hope that they can earn their weight in gold, because the money is there to support the development of this region if it's done right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, having a dedicated person to do that, great move. Now we've got to see, that come to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you've made inroads. You've already said there's $1 million grant kicking around to figure out that VDOT access issue. This is going to open up the potential for that 64 acres where you've had quite a lot of flack, from us included.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Well, it is what it is, right?
We had an entire show dedicated to it. It's one of our most listened to shows. But actually, Holland's his first ever show on here is top 5. So people are paying attention.
But to get that funding, from the state and from the feds that helps our area develop with a long-term plan in mind is got to be supported. I mean, we have to swing round and say this is something that we really support, and what you're doing in that end, hopefully is going to bear fruit.
Look, if you don't take advantage of the grants, somebody else is.
Exactly.
So how about we just put it like that? Listen, look, okay, you don't want to use other people's taxpayer dollars. Well, somebody is. So why are we not there putting somebody out there to apply for every grant we can possibly try to get? We might not get them all. We might not get 1/10 of them. But if we're out there applying for them, we're trying to develop something better.
That's a little slight advice for, high school kids, juniors and seniors wanting to go to college. I don't know what the numbers are, but when I was in high school, it was millions and millions of dollars worth of scholarships that are never even applied for. All you have to do for some of these, because it's like you'll see uncontested races sometimes in politics. That's essentially what it is. Just send in a letter and you're going to get it because try. Why not? You know what I mean? Like I think our stance on taxes has been well documented on this place and our thought of the government many, many times. But at the same time, we also are realists and understand, okay, what we want and what a reality is are two different things. So if we want to get what we want, we have to play it in the reality we're in. And what if there's a piece of the pie out there? I would much rather my town get it, my region get it than somebody else.
The reality is we've got, a population of 5,000 in Rocky Mount, and that can't possibly support the development that we need. Now, if we can do that through grants, power to you.
I don't think you can understate how important grant writing is. I mean, you could probably make a good living, not going to college and just going to a grant writing course and then, getting a job doing that.
Why do you think every congressman and senator has a farm? Because there's massive amounts of ag grants that nobody knows about, except them.
Yeah.
They all have a farm.
Bastards.
It's worth it to do it. Yeah.
But some of them do it the right way, like Thomas Massey.
Yeah, of course.
Well, he probably had to farm before he was a politician, though.
Yeah. He's an Appalachian boy.
So what's the skinny with the hotel development? Have you got anything to on that North Main Street? Because I think that will be, again, it's another kickoff point. And I know it's 2025, but if you're not playing the long game, you ain't playing the game.
Well, so you will start to see dirt being moved shortly. There are some behind the scenes things that are going on that we can't talk about. It's nothing of major conflict. But at the end of the day, you'll see some dirt moving, which is good. The other thing that I think you will see soon is, three hotels in a town of 5,000 people.
What does that tell you?
I mean, look, it tells you people are coming through.
Uh-huh.
It tells you people are stopping and staying.
Supply and demand.
And by the way, we have two bed and breakfast. You have the early in the Claiborne House.
Yep.
Both of those places stay busy, which is important. I mean, look, that's a big deal.
Yep.
And so people are coming.
Well,
they're
it's keeping
staying.
money local too.
Absolutely.
And that's the trick, is keeping money
Absolutely.
local.
Yep.
I mean, that's, if we ain't keeping it local, we're doing it wrong.
That's funny. I saw a thread on X not too long ago. It was somebody who was British and said, I spent the last 10 days in the United States, and he went down, he said 7 different reasons why the U.S. dominates the U.K. and advancement or whatever. And one of them was, the a rising tide raises all ships mentality that Americans have. He said in Great Britain, they're very skeptical of anybody who succeeds. But in America, everybody's high-fiving and saying, great, now we're all going to do better for this. And, obviously that's just...
That mentality don't exist as much as it used to, I don't think.
But it can here, and I think it has.
Oh, it does here considerably more than some places. But he was talking earlier about, one spouse dies, I don't want to leave my house now. And I don't understand why. In Indiana, my grandparents lived out there. Every single, all of them, when they got to us, we're going to move to town now. Whether it was their kids bought the house from them, but that was their they couldn't wait to move to Rossville or whatever, and it was little. But all of them did. But around here, is it because that for so long that the town was not made palatable for them to do it?
It's there now.
It's getting there.
Yeah, it certainly
like
is. Yeah, I think over the next 2 years, we're going to see some very interesting... There's some very cool progress
If it keeps
in
on
that direction.
rate that's been going over the last 2 years, I like the way it's headed.
Everything's primed to go up. It really is.
But and to be fair, that's a lot of work by your local government. And I know government is a touchy subject.
Of course it is.
Sometimes. But
That's the libertarian way, right?
I had to take that jab. But no, I mean, literally, we've got a great team. It's easy. You said you hear people saying stuff about me and give me credit. Look, the credit, you can give it to me, but I can tell you without the team we have, this doesn't work.
I give it to Robert.
I mean, absolutely. If Robert's here, we give it to him. But literally, it's,
Well done, Robert.
Yeah. Wherever Robert is, we're happy. But no, it's a great team, and it's a council that sees that a future here in Rocky Mount can keep being brighter. And that's important. So while I love to take all the credit, it's definitely not.
But I also
that's okay.
see that the next generation has gotten more involved and has showed the older generation, hey, maybe our way set in stone is not the way forward. Maybe we do need to listen to the grandkids to figure out how to run this new phone we got. That mentality, since people have seen what's been going on, I have heard people that were super skeptical start warming up. This ain't as bad as we were thinking.
They might be onto something.
Right.
Could be.
And I will say this was not something that I had planned to bring up, but there was a conversation on Facebook about us raising our pay and doing insurance. And that became a big topic on Facebook for people. The council members now make $1,000 a month for doing that. We did raise it to 1,000 from like 600. I can tell you these guys put in a lot of work. I think I make maybe like 50, I don't know what it is. It's not much, but we put in the work. And insurance is a way to make sure that younger people get involved. If you've got to want to show people there's a reason to get involved in local politics. It's not about saying, look, you're investing time. The way you get more people to the table is you give them an incentive to get there. $1,000 a month.
It's a market. I think you have to,
go to Roanoke City.
Mm-hmm.
They're paying people, $3,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, we're not as big as Roanoke City, but I mean, everybody's going up on their pay.
It's relative.
Right. So we went up on our pay. We added some bonuses for your insurance to get in there. And that's important to get younger people involved, because at the end of the day, the town is moving in a forward progress direction. And we want to keep bringing people back here. And, that takes, it takes more people wanting to run for council and do things.
And
if you want
incentives.
good minds involved, there's got to be some kind of, compensation. I mean,
There needs to be an incentive. There needs to be an incentive.
Especially with younger people.
You can't expect them to come, somewhere, not urban, I guess, at this point, unless you have some kind of incentive.
Well, and, to me, what brings us up to another topic that's bothered me a lot is the vandalism and stuff going on in town. That hurts me.
That's mindless. It's mindless, and it really pisses me
Mary
off.
Elizabeth Park, I mean, I was a German Baptist kid. That was my playground growing up. I mean, we went down there on the weekends, played tennis. And it makes me wonder, I see when this stuff happens, what are we doing wrong? Is the kids, the youth don't have pride in it? Because look, if we were going to go do something like that, we're going to do it in Cave Spring. We weren't doing it in Rocky Mountain. Yes, we were going to dress like rednecks and go up, because we sucked at football anyway. So of course you're going to dress
easy
like white trash rednecks and go to Cave Spring and yell and holler and do dumb stuff. But
it's called not shitting on your own doorstep.
Yeah.
I mean,
the only thing you would do around here is maybe drive around and turn over porta johns like they were cow tipping, but I don't know people who did that.
Houses, but that was that's just.
Yeah, only if you were a school administrator did you get your house TP'd. Nobody else.
Well, but is that not a reflection of the lack of parenting from? I mean, dare I say,
of not teaching to be proud of your town.
There is that.
I mean, I was always proud of Rocky Mount. I didn't care. You can trash Rocky Mount. All the stoplights going blink at 10. So what, man? We hang out in the Lowe's parking lot. We get ran out from there. We go down the road to here.
I love my town. That's why I started this show, is because I love my town. I love my county. I love the pride in it, and I want to.
That has been lost to a degree. That there's a lot of people that are not proud.
Let's put that into perspective, though. It's a very, very small percentage of the populace that are doing this, and it does have a massive impact. But let's not say this is a generic issue.
No,
it's
but it's
not.
Just hurtful for me. I'm just saying, I just hate to see that stuff.
Well, and we've done a very good job of putting it on social media, finding out what's going on. We've got cameras in all the parks now, so we're hoping that stops. People are like, why don't you have cameras there? Well, you don't think about that being the first place.
Yeah, why would you need?
So obviously we're going with the times. We're learning, but
that's another expense that is, in my mind.
Well, it is, and it's more of an any-state kind of thing as well. It's like, and maybe, I don't know,
you have to do it.
Who knows? It could have been.
But at the end of the day, we have a lot of great parks. We have the first dog park in Franklin County that opened this year, which is a big deal. Mm-hmm. I mean, look, we're trying to bring people to Rocky Mount. Let's do it. Look, we've got the parks going. The dog park, people love a dog park.
My mom-in-law gets dialysis 3 times a week. And she looks at me one day and she's like, Amos, I want to know where this dog park is I seen on the news. I had to drive. I had no idea. Was down in here somewhere at the Y. I'm like, Paul, there ain't no dog park down here. Well, we had to find Paul's dog park.
Not my dog park.
Which is great. I loved it. I mean, it was
great.
We pulled down here. I loved it. And it's necessary. Think about all the people that come to the Y. Mm-hmm. They'll bring their dog down there, run them, at the dog park for a while. If it's a nice day, leave them in the truck with the windows half down, go into the Y, work out for a bit. It's nice. It was done well.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that the county needed. We were glad to get it done. It just makes things better for the whole community.
Is that part of the county done? Or is that
No, it's in town. It's in town. Yeah, that's in town. But all the towns in the county, by the way.
Well, if anything else, it's emphasizing health though too. I mean, if you're going to have a dog and you're going to be in town, that dog needs to get out and run and stretch his feet, and so do you. Like, I think we have such a de-emphasis on health in this entire country. So, once again, if our tax dollars are going anywhere, I'd rather go somewhere that's going to encourage people to get outside and walk around and be healthier, keep their animals healthier and things like that. I say that because I had Peter respond to one of my messages this week and kind of give me a big old long response. You didn't hear about that?
People eating tasty animals?
Yeah, that organization. No, they made some post griping about SMU's Mustang horse or something like that, and I just shared a message from Google about how many animals they've actually killed over the years, and they're number one. So I just said, "Is this you?" And then they give me this long spiel about how they're trying to justify it and stuff. I was like, that's exactly the same thing some evil mastermind trying to depopulate the earth would say. And then you'd have a catchy little phrase like "people for the ethical treatment of animals." Look, I understand what you're doing. It's a necessity. It's an evil necessity. You have to, if there's too many dogs and animals, you have to do it. But don't claim it's ethical, because it's not really. I mean, change your slogan or something, people for trying to be ethical maybe. But anyway, we had a whole long what to do about that. What's next on the list, Chip?
Let's see.
Since Simon decided to.
The accreditation of the police department. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, big deal. I mean, look, the Rocky Mount Police Department's come a long way. I can say that. And Chief Young's done a great job. I mean, these guys, they were trying for 15 years to get accredited. Chief Young came in 2 years, it got done.
Wow.
And
that brings in federal, state.
It's a whole process. I mean, you've got to go through all they send people to ride around with you. They send people to look at they're all around you. They're looking at what you're doing behind the closed doors. They're in your stock room. They're in your evidence room. They're doing everything they can do. And we're one of 18 towns in the Commonwealth to be accredited. So that's a big deal. And it's a big deal that Chief Young was able to get it done in the time he did. I think that shows kind of what he's got going on. And, Rocky Mount Police Department wasn't in the best place for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're in a lot better place.
This is something that touches my heart a little bit with the police presence, the sheriff's presence at the elementary schools, middle school, high school. And we only have one private school, Christian Heritage Academy.
I think we got Smith Mountain Lake. Is that a private school technically?
Yes. So there's two. And they don't receive that element of protection. And that makes me pause for concern that.
Well, could a private school just say every single teacher could be?
Well, no, it does. It's a very complex subject because they say, because they go to private school, you should be funding a private security firm. And then it goes into the amount of insurance that's required to fund a private security firm to be able to offer the same level of protection for their kids. Now, is this something that to me, that would be a huge PR deal for the Rocky Mount Police Department to say, well, you know what, if the Sheriff's Department isn't funding the resource officers to the private schools, then perhaps, Rocky Mount Police Department could swing around and say, well, there's something that we could do here, because CHA is, I believe, in town limits.
Yes.
And I'm not
couple
sure.
hundred, I believe.
But yeah.
But that's probably a bigger issue.
I think it's a huge issue, and there's a lot more to it. So I've oversimplified it.
Yeah. Well, yes, I agree with that. I agree with that. But I guess it's hard to talk about that without going down a rabbit hole, which I really don't want to go down. But I mean,
no, I don't want to put you in that position either.
No, but I mean, I think that part of it is that and I'll say this, and I don't want to go down a huge rabbit hole, but everyone wants lower taxes, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, everybody wants that. And when the county lowered their taxes, everybody was very happy that they lowered their taxes. But when you do that, you have to look at the bigger picture of SROs, CTE centers. You have to look at the bigger picture of you can't have everything you want and taxes go down.
Let's talk about that CTE issue now that you bring it up. What's going on there?
Well, that's a county issue, and I know they're diligent on what they're trying to do, and so. But I mean, obviously, we all agree at this table that a CTE center is necessary.
Very much so,
and that's great. But I mean, but you also, I mean, as a citizen of the county and of the town, you have to recognize that your county taxes probably have to go up to make it work.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But and I don't want to pay any more taxes than anybody else. But at the end of the day, if it keeps children here and it gets better education for our kids to bring them back here, it's a small price to pay for the community.
I think there's a taxation reckoning coming, and this is a very deep subject. I'm certainly not going to get down it here, because there's some ways that you can approach it that are creative, that really step away from the old way of how the taxation system works. And I think we've got to be prepared to explore that. And I'm going to leave it at that. I've got my own ideas, and, they are contentious.
And I'll leave it at this. I think that if tax dollars are well spent and people see progress, I think they're okay with the tax money they're spending. Mm-hmm. I think, to me,
as long as it seems fair, if it's deemed fair and across the board, I would 100% agree with you on that.
Yeah, which is why I'm honestly about ready to just go in and stop paying federal taxes. I'll still pay town and local because they seem to be doing something good with it, but federal, I'm sorry,
he forgets he's being recorded.
We'll put money on your books.
Yeah.
That's right.
There we go.
That's right.
What do we got next up there, Simon?
Where do we stand? And we're going over old ground here.
Sure, yeah.
Where do we stand with the fire truck purchase? And this is old ground, and it's been out there, but it doesn't hurt to refresh old ground.
Yeah, so, we bought 2 fire trucks, the real expensive truck, and then, a standard truck. Both of those we've agreed to purchase. The county and the agreement that we did recently is going to pay $800,000 towards that. And then going forward after 2030, they're going to pay 60% of the vehicles.
That's fantastic.
So, look, it's a good thing.
That's a great negotiation.
Well, look, I mean, it's good when the county and the town can get together. And there were a lot of moving parts, and we did that for a year and a half, but we got the deal done. And I think, it speaks volumes to the fact that the county and the town have to work well together.
Yes. And at the original point in time when this, and it was a shit show, when that started, it was going sideways. And there was such a disagreement in how to come to the bargaining table. I was concerned about how the town and county can work together. Thankfully, I think good sense has prevailed, and that protracted negotiation has worked out very well for everyone, and I think it's fair.
Look, I think that,
and I'm glad it happened.
Me too. I'm glad that, look, there were high moments and low moments in those negotiations. Some people saw and some people didn't. Some played on the media, but I can tell you, I'm thankful for the supervisors. I'm thankful that we got that done.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that everybody got together and we moved on.
Good.
We put everything together. We moved on. And
That's
that's
a good
it.
negotiation.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how it should work.
Absolutely.
I wish it hadn't got quite so ugly at one point in time, but it needed to get there to push through and come out with a resolution that was deemed a fair trade.
Well, I've enjoyed what I see happening in Rocky Mountain. When they were climbing all over you in the beginning, and I was trying to be the mediator, I absolutely enjoy, the festivals and the stuff. It's a hallmark town. It feels more welcoming than it used to.
Well, and we started on some rocky patches.
Yeah.
The podcast, you guys invited me on gracefully when I was running, but after I was elected, we had some bumps in the road. But it's always good to talk about it. Look, when I heard you guys saying stuff, I called you. I said, "Look, let's talk about it. Because I believe that government should be approachable and transparent. And so, to me, I don't really care if you like what is going on. I mean, I personally want you to like everything. I know you're not going to, but I'm happy to have a conversation with you. So you say, look, this is what I don't like. Great. That's fine. But let me tell you why this is going on. And we may not agree on everything, and we shouldn't agree on everything. But I mean, look, it's a good conversation to be had.
Yeah. So, it's been very constructive. And I think we've been integral in exploring those avenues. I would love to see the Board of Supervisors be a little bit more open and transparent in that regard. But, that's going to be a longer process. And I understand that. I'll respect it.
Maybe a couple more old heads get out.
Well,
getting some.
It's getting the right people in the right positions that represent their communities. And
that are willing to listen to their community.
That are prepared to listen and react to their communities. Because that's been part of the problem, I think, with a lot of the local politics here, is that you'll get the certain positions have been filled, and once they've been filled, that accountability has dropped off instantly.
Well,
but it's hard work. We don't see what goes on behind the scenes, and that's very complex.
And I agree with that, but I think, and if Robert was here, he'd probably kick me. But I'm not worried about getting reelected. Okay,
and you shouldn't be.
I believe that people voted me for 4 years. I'm going to do what I think is right, and I'm going to work with the team we have to do what we think's right. And look, if you don't like it in 4 years, run against me, win. It is, you got to, you can't be scared of reelection. If you're scared of reelection, you're not going to do anything. You're just trying to get reelected. So that's my opinion.
That is a great attitude to approach local politics.
And being successful in a political scene, it's obvious there's two ways people go about it. You can either force people into your corner, I'm right, you're wrong, or you can convince them that your corner is better than their corner. And that is the vibe I see coming out of Rocky Mount is, hey, look, we're not going to force you into anything. We're just going to prove to you that our vision is going to benefit everybody. Whether you're in my corner or that corner, our vision is going to benefit the other corner as well.
Kind of like how I talked you into be a fourth co-host on this podcast.
No,
but we had a great slate, though, too. I mean, we had a great slate, and what we did is we took what we had and we built around it, and we've found a way to continue to try to grow it, bring more businesses there, and get more people there. So I mean, you just got to keep working to make it better.
There's a lot of towns that die because, well, Grenade did it that way and it worked. Daddy did it that way and it worked, and they don't think about, well, everything around us is changing, so we'd better change the model. Whether you're a farmer or whatever, if you don't change the model.
Towns fail through apathy.
Well, and when I ran, and you can go back to the conversation when I was running, I think Billy asked me why I was running, and it was, I want my kids to come back here. And I looked at Billy and I said, I know you want your kids to come back here. Look,
that was a resounding, we all were nodding. Right. I remember that moment.
Right. You want distinctly. Your kids to come back to where you're from. That's what that's the reason you have kids. You want them to come back and follow in your footsteps. It doesn't always happen.
If you take pride in where you're from.
Absolutely. But I mean, I came back here. I grew up here. But when I looked at Billy, I said, look, you want your kids to come back here. I think we've created, I think there was always a place to come back. I came back here, but I think we've made it better. More people should want to come back to Rocky Mount. Mm-hmm. And I hope Billy's kids and my kids come back here because I think we're making it a better place.
Yep.
And we're making it a better place because we're not staying in the past. We're moving forward.
We're not being stagnant.
We're not right.
Yeah, stagnation is apathy.
In Callaway, y'all can go.
Well, they can come right now and hang out. Absolutely, they come to the festivals.
Yeah, we can support the festivals.
You gotta have allies. You gotta have allies out there.
Well, it's very important. And I started the show. I had aspirations of doing something like this for quite some time. I just didn't know the right moment. The right moment was after I had a child. I was like, you know what? There's something to be proud of for this area. I want my daughter to have a reason to stick around, and then, of course, the kids keep coming. And, now I've got more of a reason to fight for this town. And big kudos to Holland. As he had mentioned earlier, we had, honestly, after that town deal went off, we came and recorded a show where I kind of got animated very animated. And honestly, that
Really, Billy?
that
Kinda
animation,
imagine
that.
He kind of got
Imagine.
it.
that no, that animation probably would have got tons and tons of reacts and likes and follow. It would have been social media gold, but I scaled it back and we actually re-edited that show and kind of did an amendment after Holland had called us and met up with us, and reached out. You don't get that in most places from politicians where somebody's willing to say, okay, I know we've got the normal Franklin News Post and Roanoke Times are going to run their articles. There's a local show here, and even though I come under fire, I'm willing to go on there and speak my side of things. And as that mutual respect, he reached out to us. We went up and had that meeting, and we scaled it back. And I honestly did not release that scathing animation I had. I was. Even you
Politician paid you. That's what you're doing.
did not pay me a lick. Did not pay. The only thing he paid me was the respect to reach out and say, "Hey, let me say my side of it before you release something." And I said, "Okay." And then we went
And that
back
was the right
and
thing
we
to do.
amended the show.
That was the right thing to
Only
do.
2 shows I've ever edited would be that one, and our first one was Smokey up here. And that's only because it went on for 4.5 hours, and I had to just scale back some of y'all's nonsense. But I mean, and it was because they reached out. That's transparency. You don't get that hardly anywhere else. To come onto a show like this, it is hostile. I mean, for the love of God, one of our partners is being libertarian, and libertarian is all about anti-government, no taxation, all these kind of things. But to be able to come into the Lion's Den and have these conversations that are going to reach out to everybody, I mean,
We all live in the same town.
Maybe
Absolutely.
the button
Yeah.
for-
But you can't let people look. The internet's a wild
vicious
place.
place.
But look, you can't let people say stuff. And when I told you, when I saw what I believed you were going to say, or got some wind of it, so look, you're not right, and I want to talk to you about it. Now, we weren't going to agree. I knew we weren't going to agree on everything, but I want you guys to know some of the things that were wrong. But I mean, I see the Facebook posts about me, the good and the bad, and look, I'm not scared to comment on them because again, I'm not doing 4 years to run for re-election. I'm doing 4 years to see what happens. But I can tell you, you're not going to say something about me that's not true and just get away with it.
Well, that's where we gave you the
Quite
credit.
right.
We've given you, and I don't know if you
Love you,
listen.
right, right.
I don't know if you listen to every show. You probably don't because they get kind of winded. But we do, very often.
Wind his name.
You know what I'm saying? Very, very often, we do give you props for being
Thank
one
you.
of the few that will come on and actually, because whether you want to believe it or not, that month or so when Simon first came on, you came on, those to this day are still the most listened to shows we've ever had because people were genuinely interested and they were very invested in what was going on in downtown Rocky Mount. I think people were fed up. And like I said, Philip Bain's show, the show on the Harvester, and I think it's Abe Naff and then you. You're coming on and campaigning. If anybody doesn't understand the implications of that, like people got to hear what was going on in the town, what they perceived was going on, and then they went to the voting booth and Holland, it was a big upset. I don't think there's a lot of people who didn't think it could be done. And it was honestly because I think he came on here and he was genuine and people got to hear that. And I think it swayed a lot of votes. And that's the power of something like this. And for him to come on here and knowing that power, but still being honest and coming on after the fact. I mean, once again, not many of them out there. Not many of them. Not many. Very few. Do you know how many politicians we've reached out to come on this show? The only ones that have the only ones that have ever accepted is Holland, Spike, and Mike Tremont. And Holland's a mayor. Those two were vice presidential candidates. And I think we had Sarah Jarose.
There we go.
There we go.
There it is.
But I do want to say, look, I mean, you brought up the election. I want to say Steve Angle has been great to me. He has been. I mean, he really has.
I'm glad he has. I'm glad he has.
And so I can't speak, and whether Steve hears this or not, I bounce stuff off of him. I've asked him questions. I mean, literally, he has been great to work with, and I really have appreciated him giving me insight and stuff. And sometimes I'll call him and be like, "Look, this is what's going on. This is what was going on back then. What was the deal?" I mean, he's been great to work with, and I really do appreciate. I think we have a good friendship, and I do appreciate that.
You think that he realized that, it's time to pass, after the election,
Pass the
time
torch.
to pass the torch, let me get behind it. Because you can either resist or get behind. It's only two options.
Well, I would like to think that he thinks I'm doing a good job. How about that? I'll say that. I'd like to think that he thinks I'm doing a good job.
And, I've noticed something else in the last couple years with Rocky Mountain, that more of Franklin County has embraced. I have seen more people embracing Rocky Mountain, the town of Rocky Mountain, out in the county. I mean, there's 5,000 people in town. You said roughly. Then there's 50,000 in the county. Well, 55,000 in Franklin County.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 50,000 people in the county, 5,000 in town. But I have seen the county
comes together,
becoming more proud of Rocky Mountain.
Well, it's the county seat, and to base off of what he was saying about Steve. I mean, for anybody out there that wants to consider our biases or whatever the case may be, Steve Engel is family. I grew up going to family reunions every single year with him, and I was super critical. You know what I mean? I was super, and that's family. I was super critical, and that is family. So for Holland to come on the show and say, "God dang, that boy did that to his own family," I mean, look, I just call balls and strikes how I see him. But I am happy to know that you reach out to him, and he does give you advice because 16 years of experience, whether you agree with it or not, it's part of the process. And so
we had Billy Wayne Stockton is done with his term. He's vice mayor now. He's no longer going to be on council. He did 12 years. Lucas Toon's coming on in his spot. Steve we reached out to Steve. He came and spoke after I spoke, which was good. But I mean, look, at the end of the day, you don't, and this is weird to say, when you're a mayor, you really don't think about the things that certain mayors go through and listen to until you're there. And so I know he was a mayor, and I know he knows some of the things I'm going through, so I can reach out to him and talk to him. But I've never said anything negative about Steve. I didn't do it when I was running, and he never.
No, you certainly didn't. On our show, you didn't. You didn't.
And look, there are obviously different styles of people. Him and I would definitely agree we have different styles. But look, I mean, I think Steve was ripe for the time, and I think that I'm hopeful that I'm ripe for the time, and I think I'm happy that he is, answering my texts and my calls when I ask him, questions.
Everyone has the best interest of Rocky Mount in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, I gave Steve a particularly hard time, and I'm well aware of it. But at the time, it needed to be said.
Well, I don't think we still ever came out and endorsed anybody. I think you did. You endorsed Holland right there on the spot.
Absolutely.
It is show, and I held back myself personally and from the show from doing so. Just because I hate to tread on those waters, despite who I voted for and who I knew I was voting for. You know what I mean? I still try and keep the show page and the show opinions as impartial as possible. We didn't even endorse anybody for president, even though it was kind of clear who we were probably voting for. And that was despite having Mike on the show. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't say that if I met Steve in the street, I wouldn't be able to shake him and shake his hand. Absolutely. And that's politics.
Yeah.
And that kind of sucks.
That's a more complex thing.
But, you still have to be able to shake a man's hand to a certain extent.
I don't think you ever understand what it is to be in local government till you're there.
Right.
And so, I mean, and this is going to be one of those things that I'm going to like. You're going to catch a lot of shit. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just what it's going to be.
And is it going to be?
You're going to get the good and the
personally.
bad. But look, I mean, when you guys are talking about buying land, and look, there's two sides to every story.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that for local government people, it's harder on them because we're 5,000 people. I know everybody. And so when you're saying bad things about me, I'm like, okay, well, Billy, kiss me.
I've never said anything.
I've
never said anything.
One of us.
No, but I mean, look, we may differ on what we're doing, but what I'm saying is you hear it more often. And so, but until you're in the shoes and you're hearing the stuff behind the scenes, it's very easy to look at somebody and say, this is what I believe. There's a lot of stuff you don't get to hear, and there's a lot of stuff that doesn't get out there. So, it's difficult. It's politics, but
you've got to have that mentality as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that mentality is you have to be thick-skinned. So any insult that we can sling in any which way or form, I hope
it's just going to roll off.
And I hope that it lands on thick-skinned people. I would not like to insult or degrade or take a cheap shot at someone that would be so offended that they couldn't take it. That would upset me.
Well, you can't offend anybody.
Oh, trust me, I can.
Well, to Jim Psaki,
You decide yourself whether
you're offended or not.
That's right.
Exactly.
You decide whether you're offended.
Exactly.
well,
Now you can say some stuff that's grotesque and ugly.
Well, when you see this stuff online, I don't think you really think about it. Like
Yeah.
you see that you've got your people that don't like you, and you mostly know who they are. I do. And so
we know we know him too. He's not
works it out.
He's not a big fan of ours.
I know who they
either,
like. But I mean, when you see it, you kind of think to yourself, okay, look, am I doing something right? The fact you're mad at me or you're looking at what I'm saying, oh, thank you. You're making me better. The people that are out there talking about me, I see you. I know you're making me better because I know what you're going to say, and that's okay with me. I'm good with that stuff. I'm good with as they say, the haters. I'm good with it.
Yeah. If you can't take constructive criticism, and if you take it personally, you're not fit for the job.
Well, it helps keep you honest.
Well, it does, and it helps you evolve, which is what compromise is about. When you receive constructive criticism, and not venomous shit, but constructive criticism, you can think about it, pause on it, think about it again, and go, well, I can take it or leave it. But it allows you to compromise. And that's what's lacking in politics
in
right
the
now.
age of social media, it's easy to sit there and criticize every move that the mayor of Rocky Mount does, and they ain't never looked at the first number. They've never had planners, developers sit there.
never been to the first town council meeting. Never,
sit there and eat your Cheetos and type on a keyboard all day long.
The Warriors.
But when both you guys text me, I mean, Simon or Billy, when y'all text me, I always respond. And
Absolutely.
I'm always, look, if there's a question, look, we can talk about it. Honestly, I really try to be probably over than I should be. I try to answer every question I can for everybody because I believe it's important to be honest with the public about what you're doing. If you don't like it, that's fine, but we can always talk about it.
Yeah. And by the way, you have been very gracious with my health issue. I appreciate that enormously. I really do.
Look, I mean, when you told me, I always check on you once a week. I mean,
Every time.
Yeah, look, I mean,
Every time.
look, we can disagree on a lot of things, but at the end of the day, we're all humans, and
You've been very consistent.
Look, I mean,
I respect it.
absolutely. No. Yeah, absolutely.
He's praised you along the way. I've heard about this cause.
Look,
four times on the show, you flipped him from raising Cain at you.
Look, I mean, you can always, you can always disagree on politics and you can disagree on issues, but at the end of the day, good people deserve to be checked after and looked after. And
Bless you for that.
No, absolutely. Look, I mean, look, and look, in the town of Rocky Mount and Living Proof rallied around you, in great ways.
Huge.
And look, I think that's to who we are as people.
Yeah.
It's a community. And so, look, that's, yeah.
Bless you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's why this region don't get grants.
Look,
Because everybody in this region in Southwest Virginia rallies around each other, and that they don't reach out. That really goes. I've thought about that. That goes hand in hand a lot. We look out for each other.
Yep.
We don't look out to get that grant,
They don't worry about it.
even on a big scale. Now that's your job. You're the politician. You got to reach out.
Look, Southwest
He's gonna fill the
Virginia's
gap.
got
He's going to fill the gap.
Yeah, absolutely. But Southwest Virginia has to stand up for itself,
Mhm.
and
It
that
does.
might not be positive with the. I mean, a lot of people in Southwest Virginia are going to hear this, but look, Southwest Virginia has to realize their worth, and that's probably
Yes.
somewhat
Mhm.
lost. But look, we are a huge population. We're bigger than
Yep.
Northern Virginia and Tidewater. But look, it's time that Southwest Virginia says, look, let's get somebody in the governor's mansion. Let's get somebody up there with some power and say, look, let's do something for Southwest Virginia, not for Tidewater, not for Northern Virginia. And if I ever run for governor, they're not going to vote for me because of this. But I'm just kidding about that. But look,
But you're right. We've got to get
seriously,
Southwest Virginians.
Southwest Virginia's got to get the money back here. I mean, it's
Yeah,
not hard to
it's
figure that
got to
out.
come sound.
That's right.
Absolutely.
I mean, tons of the brains and stuff come out of Southwest Virginia. I mean, there's a lot of brain. There's a lot of smart people that have come. You too, Bruce. But I don't think we don't defend ourselves like we should. We just rally and get around each other.
We're very polite.
What's
it's our nature.
A lot
Yep,
of hardworking
it's our nature.
people though too.
Mhm.
They're not outspoken. These are people that work hard every day, and they're not into politics. They're out there working to make a paycheck to raise
That's
their
right.
families. And so, to me,
And take care of the neighbor.
absolutely. But to get the money back into these communities, we're going to have to get people in Richmond that want to send it back there.
That's right.
I mean, that's the truth.
That understand it.
They don't understand it.
They
They don't
don't.
understand
They're not connected to Northern
So
Virginia.
that's
and
got to go
everything.
from county up.
I'm not campaigning. No, I'm not. I'm not campaigning. No, but I hold Southwest Virginia near and dear to me because
It's
that's the
best.
one thing you see when and I love going to Richmond and I love being there, but Southwest Virginia just kind of gets the
Shaft.
Wrong, well,
here,
Yeah.
you're just not
the
here.
wrong end of the deal.
Yeah, and so it's tough.
We-
But we have good people, and we rally behind our people, and that's the important thing. When you need some help, people rally behind
it
you.
was
And so
phenomenal.
And that
That's what it's
can
about.
change things.
That's how it works.
That's
Yes,
how
it
it
can.
works.
That's
You
exactly
convince
how it
everybody in
works.
Southwest Virginia, then you win. The mansion. Make it a long job.
Well, look,
Well, Holland, you went to law school down in coal country, which is a whole completely different Appalachian
Absolutely.
experience. You got to be around those people. You got to see how they live. That's how my wife grew up. She's coal country. So you have a wonderful sense for the people of Appalachia. You know what I mean? You understand as much as anybody else. And I think that speaks volumes on you sticking around here and being so young and as ambitious as you are, the places you could have went and the things you could have done in bigger cities. Like we've seen a lot of you didn't, you decided to stick around and carry on your family's name, your family's tradition that goes, I think, back to the Great Moonshine Conspiracy.
the
doesn't it?
only thing I wanted to do was come back and practice law with my dad. I got to do that, so
My
I'm happy about
granddaddy's
that.
lawyer.
Yep. Look,
Clyde was granddaddy.
He was about everybody's lawyer.
honestly, that's the reason I came back here. That's what I wanted to do, and I think that is, again, it speaks to the people of Southwest Virginia. It's family, and what you do is you come back and you work with your family and you do what you can. So, to me, that's why, as we talked about before, why I want to be here and bring more kids back here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, I knew your dad as a judge. That's when I got to interact with him, and he was always good to me. So
Yeah, Chip sent me a message this week. He was like, holy hell, I didn't realize Clyde was his daddy. I was like, Chip, you've been around local politics this long and don't understand.
that's a small town.
yep, that's it. Yep.
You want me to tell you how I met Holland after he was a lawyer?
Uh-oh.
After he was a lawyer.
Yeah.
Can we edit this part out in case it's I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah.
I made a phone call one day to a friend of mine that was working there with Holland, Finwood.
Yep.
And was like, hey, man, here's what I got going on. She was like, well, I don't do that, but Holland does. I knew who he was, but I never met him. Clyde did all the work for him and everything, of course, before he was a judge. And so I kind of told him what I had going on with the business. And, oh, yeah, come in and see me. So I go in and walk in there. He's yapping on the family, but he's on the phone. So, laid to death. She goes back. I walk on back there. He ain't got off the phone yet. He's sitting there. Finally finishes. I'm walking in the room. Finally finishes up the conversation. And he's afraid of me. Put his feet up on his desk and said, what the fuck you got going on?
That is not a true story. That is not a true story, but I like it. That's a good story for the.
It was denial off the bat.
That's absolute denial.
I explained it. He said, I know who their lawyer is that's representing them. I got this.
I don't recall that either. I still don't know.
What sort?
Well, I'm super proud of Holly.
That is pretty much what it will.
Well,
To-
minus
to-
some of the
much,
words,
pretty
probably,
much.
pretty much, yeah.
to be kind of out of character for the show, I will say, as somebody who I have known Holland since probably, I was in my early 20s. My first, some of my first memories of him is, how old are you now? 37?
Thank you. 39.
Okay, so
Nice.
you're 3 to 4 years younger than me, and I remember being just out of high school and us coming back into town and jumping in Thomas Meeks's Jeep and going down to a Magna Vista football game.
Yep.
And there you were, you jumped in the back of the Jeep, and he did it because he was the youngest, and that's what the youngest, kind of does. I'm just saying, to be that kid in the back of the Jeep, somebody who had no idea what direction he was going into. He was just there hanging out with us. I'm like, if you're hanging out with us, probably not going far.
See?
But but to see him,
now when I run for governor, all these people are going to get brought up. It's going to be terrible.
They're going
to be like, what is going on now?
Pull the plug. Pull the plug.
But for all of us, to kind of have to find our way over the years, and for all of us to be hanging out, just being young people. Just being young people who loved where we were from, loved hanging out, having a good time, and I'm just you hung out with us back in the day. I'm proud of for all the people that we did hang out with that made something out of themselves. Whether I agree with what you do or not, I'm still proud of the fact that you did something, that you're making an attempt. Thomas is doing great right now. I think I'm doing great with this show. I think it took us a while. But we found our footing.
Yep.
So. I'm proud. I'm proud of my town. I'm proud of my county. I'm proud of everybody that speaks out and does things. And for the things you've done for the county, we have gotten to the level on this show now where we have the kind of influence and the kind of reach, especially with Chip kind of helping out and chipping in with his pages, is to reaching out to big musicians and, big comedy acts and saying, hey, why don't you come down to Rocky Mount? Maybe we can put you in touch with the Harvester. You come in for a weekend. You do a podcast on Thursday up here at the cabin. Friday, you go hunt, fish, float the river, 4-wheel, whatever. Maybe Friday night or Saturday, you do a show at the Harvester. And maybe Sunday, we go down the stages of the Burger Company. You do a live show in front. I mean, we have that ability now, if we work together.
We can make it happen.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
No, that's right.
Absolutely. Yeah. I like the way the town's going. What else we got up there, Simon, before we get out of here?
We've hit it all.
We're
caught up.
Yeah.
And here comes
We're in a good
Amos.
spot.
Look,
We're in a very good spot.
I appreciate tonight, guys. I mean, it's been good. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the, where we came from, where we are. But look, at the end of the day, I mean, we got next year's a new year, so we got to keep doing stuff, keep everybody going in a positive direction. So, I'll probably be on here a couple times next year, maybe. We'll
Yes,
see.
indeed.
Maybe.
Come on back.
Might go buy some property next year and see how much. That's a joke.
Well, the cabin started in Snow Creek,
No, Sydneysville.
Sidnersville. So this cabin has made it from Sidnersville, raising how many kids?
10.
10 kids to here.
So what we're going to do is we're going to annex the cabin into the town of Rocky Mount, just here, just a small circle.
Gerrymander.
There we go.
It is.
Yeah.
Sounds like
Just so we have the cabin here.
eminent domain.
Yep.
This is not good. Not good,
Podcast will
Simon.
be in Rocky Mount. There you go.
Not good.
You will
Eject,
piss off
eject,
so many
eject.
Calawegians out there. They will come with
Just the cabin.
pitchforks.
Just the cabin. Not any other place. Just the cabin.
Yeah, but
Just here.
when you take away that from Callaway, because a lot of people hit me up like, I'm glad y'all do this in Callaway. If you were to come up there and say Rocky Mount, you would have them.
Man, you got me on that one now. Such deep
You're in
shit.
trouble. You're in trouble. People hate Simon and Callaway now.
There we go.
He said earlier, if he pursued politics, this stuff would come back to Hollywood. That's not true in politics anymore. Donald Trump proved that's not true. If you show that you got it to be a leader, it don't matter.
People are going to see.
Yeah.
Well, they're looking for realness. They're looking for people who are, true, and that's clear.
When honest and able to come up, I mean, we're not hard-hitting reporters up here, and I think I won't be able to tell anybody that wants to come on the show, might be in politics. Look, we're not here to grill you and run you into the ground. We're up here to have an honest conversation and maybe get a little bit of, honesty out of you. It's not always going to happen with politicians, but
I think it's good for the people to hear it.
They should hear.
I mean, when you guys ask me questions, I don't know what you're going to say. I hope it's not terrible, but I mean, at the end of the day, it is good for the public, whether they like it or not, to
Transparency.
hear somebody saying, hey, look, this is what's going on. Because, I mean, you guys bring that to the table to Rocky Mount and everywhere else. It's just, look, we can talk about it. Again, we don't have to agree on everything, but it's nice to just say, look, this is what's going on. And
it's an informal environment. It's not as though it's at town council or whatever format
If
you
he
know,
annexes
you
the-
have.
and then we can go harass the town council.
oh yeah,
If we can get some protections, I might be into this. If we can get some protection, I might be into this.
But I agree, it is important, and you can only do so much with a blurb in the Franklin News Post or the Roanoke Times, and at that point in time, you're only getting, what came through that reporter's eyes, and they're just petting it down to pen and paper. You got to understand there is a little bit of humanity in politics. As much as I have my, desire to go after politicians, at the same time, I have to pull myself back and say, well, they're humans as well. They're making decisions. Who knows what I would do in that position? So if anybody's willing to come on here and put it on the line, we want you to come up here. We don't want to make people uncomfortable. We want to have a couple of drinks.
But if you ain't never had the guts to run as a politician, then how much can you berate them?
Well, that's true.
Run against Holland.
Huh?
You didn't run against Holland for me.
Well, I didn't want to. It was a necessity.
But I like the questions. I mean, I really do. I like when Billy and Simon, they give me stuff. They shoot me a message and say, look, what's going on. I don't mind that. Again, we're not all going to agree, but I'm going to tell you what I think. And if you don't like it, it is what it is. We're not going to agree on everything.
Right.
But I think that I earned your respect by answering your question. And so you might not agree with me, but you might say, hey, he sent me a text back, or hey, he responded honestly. And so I think that's part of what, as a politician, if you would call it, that's what you do. You just tell them, look, this is what I think.
Yeah, and that's how that's how it needs to go forward, because that lack of engagement from a politician's perspective is what's been lacking in the engagement with the general public that vote them in the position to represent them. So this,
and they don't know what's on your mind if you don't go tell them.
But this is how it should be. This is how it should work.
Franklin News Post said the town of Rocky Mount spent X million of dollars on this. That's all you see. So
you don't see the process. You don't see the why. You don't see the arguments. You don't see
Holland come on here. Hey, this is what our vision is. It makes it's a whole different.
It gains legitimacy. Yeah, he's gaining legitimacy by putting himself out there. So we appreciate that.
Hey.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Amos telling me this week, he's like, man, one of the best shows we ever did was when y'all come up on the front porch and hung out and did that show. I mean, because, and if you capture the German Baptist community, obviously you're moving in that right direction. So
to be quite honest, the only reason they invited me to that show was I was supposed to be ratchet and jump on you with both feet.
I didn't know
it was a setup. Yeah, it was a setup.
I was like, look, I really can't do that to the man. Man, I want to hear him out first. And then I kind of like Robert, so it got you a pass.
Thank you. Good. I'm glad you kind of like. Well, but I will say this short plug. Living Proof. We do the trivia. Tomorrow's the last night. I have 2 more nights of hosting. So if you can go out to Living Proof and do some trivia, it's always a good time. I enjoy hosting out there. And look, I appreciate what you guys do. I'm glad you invited me up here. I'm glad we got to do it.
It's always a pleasure.
It is. And it's, I hope we can do it again. Really
Absolutely.
Oh, we will. We certainly will. And hopefully here in the next few months, we'll be able to sneak out and do some trivia again, because we've had a lot of fun doing it a couple of times we've done it. But, once again, with Simon's health issues and then my health issues with
that's not health issues, Billy.
Procreation.
Those are decisions.
It certainly is a health issue for me. So there's those reasons we haven't, but it's a lot of fun up there. And to get up there and be interactive and to get out there with the community. Hey, there's your opportunity to go out there if you want to speak to the mayor, if you want to, come voice your grievances or whatever. He's going to be there doing trivia night. And is there anything else we need to mention coming up here in the near future? I know you said huh?
Truth.
That's not going to happen. That's not possible. I don't think that's.
You said that last time, Billy, but
yeah, but she shut him off now.
Oh yeah. She's like, everybody's wanting to be.
Billy. It's okay, Billy.
No,
it's okay.
no.
Don't.
Let's
It's
move
okay.
on.
I'm just.
No, it's really okay.
Okay. Yeah, I probably shouldn't, because she probably will listen to this one. Yeah, she probably will.
So you can get your 50% off your LibertyCon tickets in 2025. So check our Instagram page for that. That's been coming out. Spike Cohen's going to be there. The mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, will be there.
Who is Kane
from
WWE
former
Hall of
WWE
Famer.
wrestler will be there. So maybe we
Get the mayor of Rocky Mountain.
maybe we can get a cage match going from all 3 of them.
He's really tall.
He's really big. Yeah, he is.
Boris, run.
And we'll be doing things about that, and catch us here in the near future as well, because I think I want to do a Spaces with a couple of the people here. We'll obviously get Chip to host it since his platform is bigger than ours, but we're going to do a Spaces maybe here in the next few weeks with some of the guys from Students for Liberty, and we'll get some of the people to show up, and we'll kind of talk about our stories from last year and what we'd expect to happen to this year. And
Spike will show up,
and Spike has already told me he'll
What's that?
International.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the
Spike's
same
already
one.
told me he'll show up for that one as well. We're trying to get him back up here in the next
Billy.
couple of weeks.
Billy.
Next week's show,
Billy,
yes.
Heather is going to kill you.
Why?
He has an anniversary date. It's
It's
time
her
to-
birthday.
Birthday, not anniversary.
Well,
Look,
Chip was getting his stuff in. I just wanted to get the rest of the stuff in
Put it
before we
on
get
me
out of
now.
here for Students for
happy
Liberty.
birthday, Heather.
Happy birthday, Heather.
We're out. I'm shutting down the
Patreon.com.
meeting.
Big 60.
Patreon.com.
right. Happy birthday, Simon.
That's it. Happy birthday,
Cheers,
Simon.
brother.
There you go.
Cheers.
Patreon.com/get on tap, $3 a month, a dime a day, or you can go to X. Once again, you can subscribe over there for $3 a day. You can subscribe for $1 at Being Libertarian. Students for Liberty, come up there and hang out. We got Spaces coming up soon with Spike and those guys. I think they're coming up here very soon. Hopefully next week, Henry Law, maybe Crawford and Power. We'll see. I'm waiting to hear back from them. Amos will be here for that one. So everybody signing off.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night,
Take care.
guys.
Love
Thank you,
y'all.
thank
We'll
you.
see you next week.
Fuck's sake, Billy.
Fuck.
He didn't signal while changing lanes. They pulled him over, found her cocaine. She said, I love you. Yes, I love you forevermore. If you tell that policeman that that cocaine load is yours, he spent time locked up while she ran around. Everyone knew it, small country town. While he lay rotten, Lord, she was blowing on his door. And the day they released him, well, he had nowhere to go. Lord, and his ashes to ashes, and you know it's dust to dust. Just another low down woman that a man can't trust. Day they released him, no one was there. Had she forgotten? Did she still care? He called up her mama, Lord, and these words he heard her cry. Lord, that no good daughter of mine spend all your money on cocaine, overdosed and died. Lord, it's ashes to ashes, and you know it's dust to dust. Just another low down woman the spring one sunny day. My good gal left me